so there's, I don't want to call anyone out or whatever, but I'm not doing that. But it's an interesting conversation. So in the right, um, real or perceived. So like I've never called myself a conservative, but certainly people would consider me in the same sphere as somebody who does, Steven Crowder or
Mhm.
these people. And in the right, there's kind of been this uprising going on now of some of the female commentators who have existed on the right for a long time and have come out and said, "Hey, I'm not a feminist just because I don't like people calling me a single mom piece of shit or something, piece
Right.
of garbage." And even when I've tried to say like, "Yo, I see that." Like I
Mhm.
see people saying that about these women
Right.
and then like, "Oh, you're simping." I'm like, "Dude, well, just don't be an asshole." Like it's not.
I
It's so
know.
weird, and it's so I don't know if it's I don't know if it's always been that way, but, like, as a man and the internet, like, c I've terminally online, this
Mhm.
is the reality with the right, I believe. You tell me if you
Okay.
disagree or I think men on the right will simp far harder for a good-looking girl on the right, than they do on the left. However, they will also turn on them much quicker and more aggressively than they do on the left. Like, I see the replies of like some of these females, and it's like they're like, "Hey, like maybe just don't call me a cunt." It's like this
Right.
weird thing. And there's like 500 people like, "Oh, you're grifting. You really weren't one of us," and blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, I I see it. I see it. I mean
It
the
does
replies.
happen, and I
Yeah.
think I think a lot of that comes from guys who are either, single and miserable or and kind of in this victim mentality mode, which sometimes that can happen to all of us. Again, I'm a single woman, sometimes I'll get in those modes every once in a
Yeah.
while. I'm like, I have to check myself, like, "Okay, this doesn't reflect all men, like, get over it." But I think it's a mixture of that and also men who are just in miserable marriages or relationships or whatever, and they project what is making them miserable onto everybody, on all the women, instead of understanding, like, hey, just because this happens, that happens, or let's look at single moms, for example. Someone who's a single mom, it doesn't mean that she automatically was the problem or she's
I
unworthy of
hate
love
that part of
now.
it. Yeah.
It's like life happens to
Yeah.
everybody. You don't know what happened in her life, if who she was with, if he walked out on her, this, that, or the other. Um,
Mm.
we don't know her story. That said, if a guy doesn't want to date a single mom, he doesn't have to, but that doesn't make her worthless. And there are single dads out there as well.
Yeah, are they
So,
worthless? Yeah, I
yeah,
mean
are
that.
they worthless too?
Yeah. I noticed that, and like I believe this is just the reality that, being a pretty girl on the right does have its advantages. It just
Mhm.
does.
Yeah.
And like, you know, Melonie posting a selfie of herself is always going to get more likes than me. And even though I think I'm far more pretty, but like, there's shit that comes with that I don't have to deal with.
True.
Like, I saw people like saying, "Oh, Lauren, you have a mixed race baby. You're a piece of shit and a race traitor." I'm like,
And her
"What?"
baby's like an eighth Asian.
Yeah, what am I even like? I'm like,
But
"What
even
are
if
you?"
he, like, come on.
I don't understand why. Like, I look. I don't agree with everything Lauren Southern says, but like, this whole like the single mom thing is like when people say like, "Oh, Jeremy, opinion disregarded, you're fat." It's like, okay, but what does that have
Mm.
to do with anything? Like, what if the guy was abusing her? You don't know. People don't
Exactly.
know. People don't know, and they're like, "Oh, single mom. Oh, yeah, you've been ran through." You don't know that. Nobody's known that.
Exactly that as well. Everybody will assume, like, just because a girl might take care of her appearance, wear makeup, be pretty, whatever it may be, oh, she's ran through, she's a slut, this, that, and the other. And that's not the case for a lot of that. And
Sh-
I
Yeah,
get that all the time myself. I'm celibate. I'm waiting until marriage. Like that. I'm
yeah.
I'm living the Christian life. But because, oh, I have tattoos, I wear makeup, I don't
Slut.
I
Yeah,
wear clothes that some guys don't like. They think it's too revealing to show a little crop top or something sometimes.
I
It's
remember
like,
that. Yeah, yeah, I remember
dude,
that
that's
guy. Yeah,
a yeah, that's
yeah,
another thing because it's and also or they'll get mad because I was against the calendar. And they'll be like, well, what about you? Here's a picture of you in a swimsuit when I was going to the pool.
Oh, I was against the calendar too. That was a
Yeah,
whole
and it's
nother
like,
thing.
so
Yeah.
I can be against the calendar because you were literally selling
Selling it. Yeah,
you're
right.
selling it. You are selling lust. You are
Right.
actually selling lust
Yeah.
versus going to a pool and wearing a swimsuit. Those are two different things, but you still get people arguing about that. And so that is one thing is
Oh, did
like
you see it got back in the freaking news cycle again?
because of that airport link,
Yeah, yeah. I'm
I
like,
just think it's all
not the
stupid.
freaking calendar again. Like,
I think it's all stupid. But
yeah,
yeah, that's one thing. It's hard. People like to put people in boxes anywhere. Being in the, people like to call me a conservative commentator. All that. First of all, I'm not really that knowledgeable about politics, nor claim to be. Like if
yeah. That's not your
Trump to
lane.
run,
Yeah,
I'll vote
yeah,
for him because I liked Trump. But I only voted once in my life,
yeah,
back when I could first vote. But I would say because I'm a Christian, my values are more conservative than liberal. But a lot of the conservative people consider me a liberal feminist because I don't have kids. I'm not married right now. I
mhm,
might never have kids. I never really wanted to have kids before. And I'm not saying I'll never do it, but it's likely that I won't. I have tattoos. So I style myself the way I do. So for them, I'm not conservative enough. But then I'm clearly not liberal and I'm clearly not a feminist, but
yeah. Not a lot of liberals dropping the F slur, but
I know.
it's the weird thing. I was gonna make a standalone video about it, and then I was like, because look, I will agree that being a pretty girl can make some things on easy mode. It just is true. Do I know if I mean it's basically Lauren Southern and then this Ashley St. Clair girl that are taking all the heat. And then Sydney used to take it all the time. I did a show with Sydney Watson. She's off doing her own thing. Like we're still great friends. We still own the
Mhm.
Publica together. And people are still like, oh, someone said today in the replies, oh, I heard Sydney cost you $100,000. And then that's literally fabricated. I don't know.
They just
Like,
make stuff up.
yeah. And it's like, okay, if you don't like Sydney, that's fine. But like, what are you talking about? No, that's not the case. And like if you don't like her, that's fine. By the way, my biggest pet peeve is people that like, well, you know this. You made a video about it. Like
Yeah.
when people come and bitch to you about somebody else, like, bro, take it to the streets. I don't care. Like you have a problem with, Melonie, you take it up with her. She can handle herself. She's a big girl.
Exactly. That's always annoying too, is when people on the conservative side are doing liberal tactics of
Right.
getting mad at you for who you're friends with or who you support or who you like or who you watch or follow or this or that. It's like, dude, you're doing exactly what the liberals do. And what makes me one of the things that makes me hate the liberal side is how, oh, you can't be friends with this person. Oh, they're this, that, or that, the other, the other. But then I've got people in my comments mad that I'm on a podcast with you and that we're
Yeah.
friends. It's
Yeah.
like, come on, bro. You can't act like the feminists or the them too, but you can't act like
Yeah.
the liberals here.
Yeah. It's been weird. I think right now there's a fracturing of there's I talked about this morning. I think there's like the red pill that I grew up with, which
Yeah.
is essentially either some form of political awakening or like men's rights stuff. And
Hmm.
that there was a toxic part of that movement, but it was very small. Like I spoke at men's rights conventions, I went to them, all the guys that were great. They weren't like I hate women. They weren't none of that. A lot of them had been screwed over by the marital law system and or whatever the case may be. But they weren't it wasn't like we were going there and like people were paying money to call women whores.
Hmm.
Now the term red pill, this is back like technically MGTOW, which is like men going their own way, which is sadly what a lot of my single 30-year-old ish friends are doing. They're just checking out of the dating pool. But I think now the term red pill has been co-opted by
Yep.
like the cringe pill, which is like I call cringe pill like the whatever podcast
Yep.
or like other these shows that are just like ha whore. Like
Exactly.
it's fine. Like look, these girls and these guys are both in on it together. They're both making money. They're both making bad decisions. Fine if you find that entertaining. But then people on the right, these commentators now are dealing with a lot of these cringe pill people who are like, uh,
They're
you know,
making the conservatives look bad when they're not
right.
even.
They're not
That's the thing.
conservatives.
That's
That's the
almost a
thing.
psyop right there. It's like to destroy the conservative side from within is having these extremists who treat women like, oh, they're trash. Oh, that they don't have the absolute most perfect past in the world, and all this, that, and the other. Oh, they're a single mom. They're useless to society.
Then
This and
don't
that.
date them. I don't
Yeah,
understand that. Like,
exactly.
just keep it moving then. It's
But
weird that you would spurg out online about it.
it's feminism for men. So these guys can't complain about feminism if they're on that side because it's the same thing. It's just the other side. So they're both extremes are terrible. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, I mean, people are people. This is one reason why I love my faith so much is and what the Bible teaches us is that people are redeemable. Nobody, I don't care the ones hating the most, they're not perfect. Nobody has ever lived a perfect life. So
Yeah.
except Jesus Christ. So just look at people as redeemable through Jesus Christ, especially if they've accepted Jesus Christ, and focus on their fruit. How are they living in the moment? All that stuff.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of good work, and there's a lot of work to be done in the men's rights movement and for men's rights, especially as it, I see some people in chat saying like, bro, you just don't know. You haven't been screwed over by a woman. Well, you don't think I know anybody? You don't think I know anybody that's gone through
Well,
custody
and just
battles? I mean, of
because they
course.
haven't, like I've been screwed over by a dude before. It's like that doesn't
Yeah.
change. That doesn't mean all men are bad. That doesn't mean I'm going to turn into a blue-haired feminist and hate men because I've had, a terrible situation before. That would be ridiculous to
Yeah.
project that onto all men.
Yeah, well, I think that, the way that the legal system is set up in some states, it absolutely is negative towards men. But I think the energy is better spent wondering why the laws are that way rather than like calling women a horse online. Like I don't like I'm not talking about people that are, into like men's rights or into these red pill stuff. They
Right.
find value in it, but I don't understand these people who are so angry at a woman who hasn't wronged them, like hasn't it's as if you want to be mad at the system. Like it's not like the woman you're mad at online is the one that divorced you and screwed you over,
Exactly. That's how they act. That's how they're doing the same with these feminists. They act like every man is the one who ever hurt them. And
Right,
they
correct.
put all their anger out on all these men who did nothing to them.